Logical consequences. So one key to logical consequences is agreements. The key is you have to have agreements. What are things that we make agreements on? Chores, homework, curfews, messing up the living room, not having a clean room. These are just things that we have to make agreements with our kids. And agreements are mutual. So both parties agree to it. If you're telling your kids what to do and they're just saying, yeah, that's not an agreement, and you're setting your kid up, and that's not fair. So review the agreements before looking at this one, logical consequences. The other thing about logical consequences is it cannot have a trace of punishment in it. The consequence needs to match the crime, it needs to make sense, and there can't be any punishment to it. It just needs to be logical, that it's the next progression of what happens if you don't do A, B happens. There is the 4 R's of logical consequences. Respect must be shown to your children at all times. The consequences must be reasonable. The consequence should be related to the mistake. And the goal of logical consequences is to teach responsibility for your own actions. When a conflict arises, you want to stop and think, how is this affecting me? So when my child leaves toys all over the floor, I don't want to step on them. When my child doesn't brush his teeth every day, then I don't want to have to smell it, and I don't want to have to pay the dental bills. So these are the reasons why them not doing these things would bother me. When coming up with a logical consequence, when you're making your agreement with your child, you make the agreement so both of you mutually agree that he's or she is going to do something daily or once a week, or pick up their clothes from the living room. That was a big one for me. And then you're going to say why it's a problem for you. If you don't pick up your clothes from the living room, I don't have a place to sit, and that bothers me. So we're going to agree that everybody's going to pick up their stuff from the living room without leaving it a big mess. I'm reading because I'm going to be getting to a list of things that I had written down, like examples, so that we can clearly say what's a logical consequence and what's a punishment, because sometimes it's not clear when we're not sure. So the other thing is that consequences work best if you create an action that you can take yourself, not one that you have to push them into doing. And you'll see that when I get to these examples that I've come up with. So one example, Matthew broke a lamp, and he decided to pay $2 from his weekly allowance until he paid for the new lamp. That was the agreed upon logical consequence. Nathan broke into a candy machine and stole some candy. He was grounded for 3 weeks. That's a punishment. Do you hear the difference? Jason forgot his agreement to take his dishes to the kitchen after he ate lunch, and they were still sitting there when Dad went to sit down for dinner with the family. So Jason got the choice of eating on dirty dishes or taking his dishes to the dishwasher and then bringing his own clean dishes. Logical consequence. Amy kept going on Amazon Prime and buying movies rather than taking the free ones. So Mom took money from her allowance to pay for those. And that, and then she obviously stopped doing that because she doesn't want money to come out of her allowance to pay only for Amazon Prime movies. Cindy called her sister a bad name, so she had to stand in the corner for 15 minutes. Punishment. You see, it doesn't even have anything to do with it. You call your sister a bad name or you use bad language, she has to stand in the corner or go to her room. There's no connection to the crime. Jonathan mouthed off at his mother, so she sent him to his room without dinner. That sounds like the mother was angry instead of making this punishment match the crime. And this is something that you talk about when you make the agreement with your child. So Jonathan mouthing off to his mother and the mother sending him to his room without dinner is a punishment.